Hi, Jeremy Slaughter with Gen34, an implementation company for the Level 7 system. I'm here today with Eden Sunshine. He is the founder of the Level 7 system, and I'm excited to ask him some questions about this system and how it applies to those businesses out there. So Eden, how are you today?
Doing great, thanks.
Good. Well, tell me a little bit about the Level 7 system, and I say that from this perspective. There's a lot of noise out there, a lot of noise about how to do business. Everybody's got a system or a way, or they've got something that tells you how to do business. Every way is wrong, their way is right, and their way is going to bring you to success. Tell me about the Level 7 system, what it is, and how it applies to business.
That's a great question, Jeremy. Actually, there is a lot of noise, and it's a multi-billion-dollar industry out there. The business consulting industry. There's, hundreds of thousands of books that are probably written, and why? Because business is dysfunctional. I mean, business is not working, and people know it. Especially if you own a business, it's not working right. And so when there's something broken, there's a lot of people out there that tell you how to fix it. Like the fitness industry is another one. It's like a huge industry. There is a lot of noise, and the problem is it's really, really confusing, and yet we still see dysfunction in business and people having difficulties in business, and we don't know where to go. Most of the folks that I've met over the years that are trying to figure out how to make their business work have read a lot of the books. They've got caught up in the noise, and yet their businesses are still not working. So you asked the question, what is the Level 7 system? And I first have to answer by not telling you that, but addressing the real problem. And why isn't business working? Why is this marvelous opportunity for all this noise, this internet and books and all this exist? And it's quite frankly that business owners are winging it.
Okay.
It doesn't matter how, and by the way, that's a pretty bold statement to make, and especially because business owners are confident people, and for the most part, they have a lot of faith in themselves, right?
Well, and let me address that. Like, I'm really good at what I do, so how does this winging it apply to me?
Right. And so we despite background and experience and all this kind of stuff, we go to business every day, and we go to our businesses and we say, well, how am I going to make this thing work? And I don't have an approach. And generally speaking, a business owner probably has some level of skill related to something that said, hey, I can do this. But they make this assumption that skill, being a CPA or a good salesperson, is going to translate into being a good business person.
Right.
So most folks are just winging it if they can be honest with themselves and not feel like it's hurting their ego. And they go to work every day and say, I hope nobody ever really figures out that I'm just trying to do the best I can. And what ends up happening is businesses fail. There's statistics are staggering as far as how many businesses go out of business. But I think what's even more concerning is the fact that most businesses really kind of get stuck, and they're really not serving the lives of the people that are in them, and they're not fulfilling the vision that the business owner originally had. Right. So what is the Level 7 system? The Level 7 system is simply an answer to this problem of winging it. And it's a business development methodology. It's a recipe. It's a approach, if you will, that says if you follow this way and apply these principles and these methods and these systems to the business, then you can create a business. You can go in and say, hey, this is how we're going to do things here. So that's the Level 7 system.
So it sounds like it's a very specific. Tell me about maybe who it would apply to. And I say that because as I think about business, business is like people, right? They come in every shape and size and color. And this system may serve this business segment. What segment or what business does Level 7 serve? Does it serve the Fortune 500 or does it serve the mom and pop?
It serves all of them. And the reason why it does is because it's principle-based. It's grounded in principle ideas. See, what happens is sometimes we have a hard time looking at comparing a Fortune 500 company to a mom and pop because there's this obviously huge differences. Yeah. I remember I was talking to a guy one time, and he was a CEO for a Fortune 500 company, and we were talking about some of the common problems that are happening in business. Yeah. And he said, hey, the problems that we have in our business are the same as the mom and pop. We just have more zeros behind it. They just, and so the problem is sometimes we look at a mom and pop and we look at a Fortune 500 company and we go, well, the way they do things here is very different. Well, in the reality, it's not. Let me give you an example. So let's say you're going to do advertising. You want to generate leads for the mom and pop. The way a mom and pop is going to generate leads is going to be very, very different than a Fortune 500 company. But the principle that leads to the conclusion of how you're going to do it is the same. Like, what is the result we want to accomplish? We want to generate 100 new leads. What do we need to accomplish? We need to accomplish 1 million new leads, right? What is our approach? What is our system going to be to accomplish that? And how are we going to do that? What is our system going to be? Well, we're going to do Facebook. We're going to do some postcards to our local community. What are we going to do? Well, we're going to do a multinational advertising campaign on the Super Bowl.
Right.
So they're using the same questions. They're just coming up with different answers. And that's what the level 7 system does, is it helps both of these organizations know what are the right questions to make those decisions. What type of people do we want to have in our organization? Both of these companies hire people.
Right.
But you need a grounding of principles, and that's what the level 7 system does.
Good. So as a business owner myself and working with business owners in a variety of different types of industries, business size, etc., one of the challenges I see is time. I mean, I'll be honest, right? There's not enough time in the day because I'm busy. Maybe I'm fighting fires, or maybe I fought fires all week, so now I got to work through the weekend to get my normal work done. So how am I, as a business owner, how am I going to get this done, knowing it sounds like the level 7 system is going to give me another thing to do?
Yeah, well, you put yourself in the mess, like every other business owner put themselves in the mess. And hey, listen, I mean, I'm not knocking them or anything, but it's just reality. They're responsible for that. They put themselves in this situation where they're responding in a reactive way. They've set their businesses up to do firefighting, and they're good at it. And I've talked about the same curse that business owners has is also the blessing. The blessing is that we're great at solving problems.
Right.
We're good at that.
Yeah.
It's the very thing that probably got us into business. We said, hey, I can do this better than somebody else, and I can fix this problem.
Right.
That's the blessing. The curse is that we're good at solving problems. So sometimes we don't even realize it, but we put ourselves in a situation where all we're doing is solving problems. And that's what everybody in our business is doing. Level 7 begins to shift and helps us begin to shift a little bit of that time to be more proactive and breaking out of that. Some people have a hard time with it, quite frankly. They have a hard time with the idea of not always being in that situation. But Albert Einstein says if you try to solve the problems with the same thinking that got you into the problem, you're not going to solve anything. So there is a tension there. I admit that for somebody to start to make that shift from always being in problem solving, I'm too busy, I can't do anything else, I've got all these issues I've got to deal with, to breaking out and starting to work proactively on the business, as it's often said, is tough. But the level 7 system doesn't say, well, you drop doing all that today and do the proactive work, tomorrow. It's like that adage, how to eat an elephant one bite at a time.
Right.
But it's when you begin to productively solve the problems and stop firefighting, and so those fires stop coming up, is when you can get exponential growth.
Right.
This is where we've seen many of the folks that we've worked with, their businesses, they work out of it, and all of a sudden the business owner's in the situation they can really focus on growing the business.
Right.
And we've seen exponential 400% or 500% increases in businesses because the owner is not in the trenches just trying to keep from getting burned, but they're focusing on how are we going to grow the business, what are our next opportunities.
So Eden, you've been pretty outspoken about some of these businesses, what business is supposed to do, how it's supposed to serve lives, the lives of employees, the lives of owners. Tell me a little bit about these business owners and how level 7 is supposed to help them in this business serving their life.
It's true. I've made some bold statements, I guess, about that. Here's one: business sucks. You know how often I've heard that, or I hate my business.
Yeah.
The number of times that I've heard business owners, looking forward to retirement, or getting away from their business in some way, shape, or form. And there's all this talk about the business life connection or the work life balance, I guess is a better way of saying the work life balance, and there's this ongoing tension. And here's the way we see it. I want to get away from my business.
Right.
Why do I want to get away from my business? Why don't I want to be there? Because it sucks. And that sucks in my mind. And it's not only true for the business owner, but it's true for employees. Yeah. Something shifted in, I won't get into my theories about why all of a sudden work is not fun anymore. But I really believe that work is honorable.
Yeah.
Owning a business is honorable. Going to work every day is honorable. To say, hey, I want to win the lottery and so I don't have to do anything, I can sit on a beach. At some point along the way, people are going to say, I'm not fulfilled by that.
Right.
I really believe that a business owner is in a position to bring some fulfillment not only to their life, but to serve their community and the world around them through their business. Hey, they may not be doing something really super altruistic, but they're doing something to help somebody. Or maybe they're doing something to help their business. We were working with a company that was in the real estate business. And the owner of the company says, we are in the business of developing people. We just happen to be in the real estate business. That's what they were doing, and that's what he was excited about. So I don't believe that work should be that's terrible for people, that Monday should be the worst day of the week and everybody's working for the weekend and so on and so forth. If I have any impact on the world, I'd love to be known for, as the guy that said, I helped people make work and their businesses more of a joy for them. And I'm not saying be owned and consumed by your business, because that's the truth. But that's what most people experience, the truth of it. But to be able to say, I love what I do in my business. I love my business. And for the employees to say, I like coming to work here too.
Yeah.
And so level 7, from let's just say the highest philosophical idea of what we do is all about helping people create that environment where they have choices. If they want to do certain types of work in their business, they get to do that. If they do want to spend more time with their family, they have the freedom to do that too. If they want to pursue new opportunities with their business or other businesses. But if that's what compels them, let's help them find that. And that's what it's all about.
So I'm hearing a lot of conversation leading towards maybe helping a business owner find their success, and that really prompts another question. A lot of these books, a lot of these things out there, part of that noise, right, is they're telling you what success is. Everybody has this definition, and they all vary. How does a small business owner, medium-sized business owner know that they have success? What does the level 7 system say about success in business?
Well, before I answer that, I'll tell you that the business owners have to learn how to go la 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 la. I don't hear you, right? I can't hear you. They have to learn to drown out the noise of what everybody else is defining as success. Right. What level 7 says is you have to find it. You have to discover what success means to you. There's people that get caught up in this idea that if I'm not continually expanding my business and locations and opening new then we're not successful. Right. But what about the little mom and pop that says, hey, we're going to be the dominant player, the boutique business in this particular community? That would be success. Or to create an environment where the employees are really empowered, or whatever it is. They have to define it. And I can't open up this book and say, this is what success means to me. It might help me discover it.
Right.
But I have to be willing to drown out the noise and have the guts to say, this is what I want my business to become, and then work towards that.
It makes a lot of sense. If somebody is driven to be successful in business, they've got to be driven to something they believe. And that seems like a key here.
It's got to be compelling. And I've seen too many situations. I remember working with a attorney, pretty new in the business, and in fact, I think she'd been working for a huge law firm, and all of her friends and family said, hey, you got to go off on your own. And she got caught up in that. Yeah. And so she went and she started her own practice. And after about 3 months, I remember having a conversation with her, and she says, I hate it. I hate this. I said, why are you doing it? Because it's what everybody told me I'm supposed to do.
Right.
I said, what do you want to do? And she says, I loved working in a big law firm. I love being around all the people. I love that environment. I said, so what are you going to do? And she says, I'm closing my practice down and going back. you know what? That took a lot of guts
Yeah.
for her to do that, to drown out the noise. And there's nothing wrong with that. Not everybody, I guess I have to be careful about saying this, but it's the truth, should be in business.
Yeah.
They got into business for the wrong reason, perhaps.
Right.
But once they can define it and say, this is really what I want, if I want to have an impact on the world around me and the people around me, then maybe business is the right place to be.
So business owners finding success and being compelled to do so. How does this, in combination with the Level 7 system, going to impact employees? Because there's a lot of employees who they don't have the same kind of autonomy or control as the business owner. They have to come to work. And the workplace may vary, but they have to come to work to a job. How does Level 7 address that, or how does Level 7, does it help it or improve things for them?
Absolutely. I mean, the fact of the matter is business owners have some benefits, fringe benefits,
Right.
and also, would you say fringe curses to go along with that? I mean, you've got responsibilities that come with business ownership, but you have the potential benefit of being able to shape a connection, a relationship to work that's unique to an employee. But how does it impact that? Level 7 impacts the lives of employees dramatically by first of all, getting the business out of survival mode. You know, because if a business is in survival mode, it's sort of like being sick. When I'm sick, the last thing I'm doing is taking care of other people. But when a business is thriving, I hate that term because I think it's overused, but when a business is prospering, when a business is moving in a productive direction, then it can begin to serve lives in a more fulfilling way, and employees can make a better connection. We can start thinking about more about what is going to create a more rewarding environment for employees. It doesn't mean that employees are going to have autonomy to work the hours they want to work, and probably not going to be able to write their own paychecks entirely. Although some of the folks we've worked with have incentivized their employees to say, you can write your own paycheck. You can become little mini entrepreneurs within the scope of what you do and creating an empowering environment. If we can help employees really discover their niche,
Right.
and in some cases we might say, this is not the place for you to really experience work in the most productive way or the most rewarding way for you.
Yeah.
But for those that stay, the business can serve their lives more fully. And so our experience has been employee morale goes up dramatically in a Level 7 business because they get more engaged.
Right. So Eden, we've talked about how Level 7 helps business owners, how it helps them in their compelling reasons to continue on and become better businesses. We've talked some about employees. What are some of the other benefits of Level 7?
Gosh, there's so many. I guess I could just say, the things that I hear business owners share with me over the years about what bothers them and what's not working. They get frustrated because they know that their employees could be producing more, and they don't know how to create that environment. The frustrations of a lack of performance or a lack of accountability and or just the confidence in knowing that we've created an environment for the business to continue to grow. Putting money in their own pocket, just solving day-to-day problems and just not knowing how you're going to navigate through that, and Level 7 being able to present a method for doing that, about getting your people involved. I've heard so many business owners say they feel like they're the only one pulling the wagon.
Yeah.
Right? And, and they've said, I feel like I'm working so hard so that I can pay everybody else. And it shouldn't be like that. If you're going to have a business, why not have your people engaged in the process? Just having freedom, and having people participating in innovation in a productive way.
Right.
There's so many different things. Really what it comes down to is, like I've talked about, this business life connection, this work life connection that people have. I believe that most business owners have a vision, and sometimes that vision is a fleeting thing that was available to them in the very beginning, that got them enough guts to say, I'm going to start this company, and then they got into it, and they realized that it's a little more challenging maybe than they thought it was going to be. And things didn't work out quite the way they wanted to. And unfortunately, a lot of them get cynical. They're like, well, I guess this is the best that it's going to be. And they put aside what originally they envisioned, and they compromise. And level 7 is about this really quite simple approach to not having to compromise anymore, to really being able to bring fulfillment. So in addition to resolving these problems and frustrations, and whether it's people problems or competition problems or finance problems or whatever other problem you can think of, not enough leads, salespeople, not enough sales, not enough profit, not enough time, all of these things that we complain about and we deal with, that gets resolved out and gets replaced with this idea of hope and this fulfillment of a vision for what I describe in my book, Woohoo, successfully transforming your business and your world. It's about getting to that moment in time where you can go, woohoo, we did it. We did it. And that vision of what you experience, your connection to your life and for the business is accomplished. And then you know what you get to do? You get to do it again if you want to. You get to redefine it and do it. And it's fun. And it's exciting. And it's worth getting up in the morning to do. And it's really simple. Level 7 is really simple. I mean, maybe it may seem complex because these problems we're talking about are complex. And so many people have all these great ideas, and so few people have figured it out. 3%, maybe. It's complex, but it sounds complex, but it's not. It's surprisingly simple, the level 7 system. And some people even have a hard time grasping it when they really begin to understand it. They go, is it really that simple? Yeah. But then it causes transformation.
We've got an environment of systems based on principles. One of the questions is, as you've talked and I've really thought about, employee innovation. Google comes to mind, right? I mean, so much has innovated out of free time for employees. How can you have a systems and it seems very contradictory to this idea of level 7 and systems? Tell me about that.
In terms of being innovative?
In terms of the employees having free time, but I'm hearing systems. There's this whole push. Do we just let employees go and have fun with the ping pong table, right? Because work's about fun. And out of that place they innovate. Or can we have a systems-driven environment or a systems-based environment that allows people to innovate? Tell me about how they could innovate in a systems-driven environment.
Well, you're talking about a couple of principles. Number one is it's the principle of defining results. What is the environment? I'd like to say that I like that fun, let's play ping pong, but I'm sort of a, high, what do they call it, type A personality, like get stuff done type of guy. And so the idea of having fun and playing around is not part of my vision. Now, can we not take each other so seriously? Yeah. Can we laugh at each other? Yeah, I'm for that. But I believe work hard, play hard. But there are some people, and some of my clients and people we've worked with over the years have these very, very fluid, open type of environments that encourage that kind of conduct. So it really comes down to defining their own success. And then you're also talking about culture. You're talking about the type of culture that a business wants to create. And this idea of innovation is really much more systematic than we think. Innovation is not it should not be totally dependent on the business owner. And for the most part, in most small businesses, that's the primary driver of innovation. They're always coming up with new ideas because they're problem solvers, right? And most of the time, people don't even bother trying to fix problems because they know that the business owner is going to take care of it. So we do create an environment, and depending on the culture that the business wants to foster innovation, do we want to let people go play ping pong while they think of new ideas? That might work with some companies. In other companies, maybe not. Maybe they're going to foster a more systematic approach to innovation. Like, let's get everybody in the room and say, hey, we've got to solve this problem. We've got to come up with a new system to solve this problem. What can we do? And they work on it that way.
So it's not, there is no, it fits better with a certain kind of culture, it fits better with a certain kind of business or a certain industry or a Gen Xer or a Gen Yer. It applies to them all. It can be an open environment where we do play ping pong, we're having fun, or it could be the environment in three-piece suits. It doesn't matter.
You know something, Jeremy? I mean, when you cut right down to it, level 7 is about asking the right questions at the right time. And we don't know what questions to ask in business. And level 7 guides people through that, to ask the right questions. It's like going up to a bar and asking a gal, walking up. You don't ask them, Will you marry me? Wrong question at the wrong time. Maybe, you got to ask maybe a different question. I don't have a lot of experience with those kind of questions, so I don't know. But the point is, you got to know what question to ask. And so asking the question like, what is our culture going to be? How are we going to innovate here? What is the result we want to accomplish? And how are we going to create replication? Are some of the key questions that Level 7 guides people through, and so that they can create this environment that we're talking about.
So how does a business owner, how does someone get engaged in Level 7? Level 7 sounds like there's really no one fit. Everybody could benefit from Level 7. How would someone then go and get engaged in this movement, in this system, and in these principles?
That's the best question you've asked so far, because that's the one.
Got it right.
That's right. The other ones are great, but that one's the most important to me. Because if somebody doesn't get engaged in this process, then there's at least a pretty good chance that they're not going to move in the direction that they really want to. Not to say that Level 7 is the only answer. It's the best one that I've seen. And so it's a great question, because I do care about businesses making the transformation, and I want to we've made it accessible for businesses, and depending on where they're at, where they are financially. I mean, the fact of the matter is, Level 7 is oriented more towards a small business, 3 to 300 employees, a couple years in business at least, maybe, $500,000 to $20-30 million in revenue. Taking in consideration that demographic and that environment, Level 7 has to be affordable. It has to be accessible to businesses. And so there's different ways for people to get involved in Level 7. Number one is they could just simply find the resources that are on our website and different places and learn and figure it out for themselves. They can read the book, Woohoo, when it's published. It should be soon. That would be, if they want to do a serious do-it-yourself, figure it out, kind of glean what I can from the resources that are available, they can do that. They can become a student of Level 7. They can begin to participate in our communities. We have online community available for people who just say, you know what, I'm going to adopt this philosophy and I'm going to do it completely on my own, and they can do that. It doesn't cost them anything to do it that way. We have a self-paced implementation program, which is essentially all of our system put together in an orderly, blueprinted fashion that says, do this, do this. You can say day 1, day 2, day 3, or week 1, week 2, however you break it up based on your time, and follow the process, the materials, the worksheets, the videos, the audio material we have available, and engage in the process of implementing Level 7 on your own. It's quite literally the same program that we use with our one-on-one, premier implementation program. It's just put in somebody's hand and they navigate through it on their own. And they can get that on our websites and download the materials and have access to the online community with that. We also have our group implementation programs, which are a group of up to 12 business owners in a geographically centralized location, like in Phoenix or Denver or something like that. And they'll meet once a month as a group, and powerful environment for accountability among the group. In addition to that, support. We have people not all working the same processes at the same time. You have people coming in and out of the groups at different times. And so you have people with varying degrees of experience that you can learn from, making great contributions. And in addition to that, getting some very basic support from one of our certified implementation specialists on the off weeks that you're not meeting with your group. So that's one way. They can get more information about that on our website. And then we also have our Premier One-on-One program. That's for the organization that wants the most robust engagement. They want to work hand in hand with a implementation specialist like yourself that's going to literally guide them through step by step each of the processes and guide that company into the most effective implementation of Level 7 in their organization. And I'll tell you, most people are very, very surprised when they find out what the investment is in Level 7. It's for what it provides them in terms of freedom and benefit. It's usually far less than what they possibly imagine. Most people have said, that's it, when we tell them. But it has to be accessible to a small business. So those are the 4 methods that people can get involved in Level 7. I would encourage anybody that's out there as a business owner that wants to take that step to really start to look at how Level 7 will benefit them.